Pokkén Tournament. What? Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video for Pokkén Tournament DX for Nintendo Switch System. I am Jukem, and I am being more cringe than usual. I have no idea why, but this time I wanted to talk about Pokken's counters again. Last video about the counters, I talked about what makes them so good. Oh my goodness. But this time I wanted to talk about 5 different counters in the game that are very, 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 very good, and sometimes people would even call pretty toxic, to say the least. Pretty broken, pretty toxic. Like, some of them you can play around a bit, but others are just like very, very annoying and hard to deal with. So yeah, first off, let's start off with Sceptile, because I am totally biased, and in fact, he has 2 broken counters, so I guess we're going 2 for the price of 1 here. Should mention, obviously, that these counters are both from the regular counters and like any like command counters. So for Sceptile, he has both. His counter attack normally is this. It's a mid, it's very, very long ranged, like it hits like here, I think, barely. Like, what the heck is this? But yeah, when fully charged, it leads to a full combo, and for Sceptile, his toolkit allows him to travel both forward and backwards, depending on what positioning he wants. And he can always get like a defense debuff too, and reset the opponent like that. So for if he wants to go backwards, he would just use 6YY here, and then another defense debuff, stuff like that. When it's normally used and it doesn't crit, when fully not charged, it rolls them back, so that's pretty good. On crit, this is from a buff actually, that he got in a patch. On crit now, when it's uncharged, it knocks him down, and now he can do that. Have fun, have fun. I guess just for reference, when the opponent's jumping, because most counterattacks are like mid-lows or have like some weakness, like some of them are high, so like they can hit high, but you can also duck under it. Sceptile CA is just gigantic, and there's even been times where I like go underneath the opponent and they get launched the other way. Like, it's so big that the second hit doesn't connect. And in the worst case scenario like that, you still knock them down, so it's just like, whatever. But you see that, like, look at, that's how big it is. Usually a lot of characters who have jump cancels, like Mewtwo, when it happens with his 8Y, he can jump cancel it, or Blaze against 5Y. Usually they can, like, beat out like counterattacks with those jump cancels. And it's fair because it's just like, oh, you're doing counters willy-nilly, let me do my safe move and punish you for doing a super easy to tell counter that's coming. So for when it comes to Sceptile though, they have to be like, oh, sorry, did I want to jump cancel? No, you're still gonna get hit, and it still goes into a full combo when fully charged. This isn't like, it's decent damage too. Like, look how much damage this does, like, on crit. That is 185 damage, and if you were at the wall, that'd be plus the wall splat bonus, so that's 215. Also a defense debuff. And even if it doesn't wall splat, you're probably going to be dragging them to the other side of the stage either way. Like, whether it's going to be this version where you go forward and you reset them, or just want to phase shift like that. I mean, either way you get advantage. They get knocked off the wall, they go towards you, you set up traps. Now they got to deal with like situations like this. It's very, very, very good. And honestly, it's also really quick too, so you can just do stuff like this. So you can kind of use it in neutral. Just like, I mean, counterattacks could always be used in neutral, but this one especially, you can just be like, hi, this is like one of my normal moves, have fun. And then you set up traps, and you're like, hi, I now have advantage, have fun, loser. I didn't know this could crit. You'd expect a lot of counterattacks to like not reach this far, unless they had some sort of like caveat to them. No, this one's just good. It's just a true mid that just has a bunch of range, has a bunch of utility, combined with his counterattack dash cancel, CADC. You're just countering through a bunch of things, and you could keep going forward, and a lot of time you could even just like go through an attack and then grab the opponent as a punish. Also a great tool for retreating then. His backdash isn't as good as like his forward dash, but like this already, especially in field phase where you're trying to like absorb projectiles and then get in. Like really? Alright, but now to the other counterattack. And this one's also really stupid because I mentioned it in the previous video. This is frame 1 counter invulnerability. Now what makes this move super good? Well, let's see. Let's see Lucario attack. Okay, first off, you saw right there, it gave him a debuff even though he countered through it, and it would be the same case if they blocked it too. It does decent chip damage, and it just gives them a debuff for no reason when they shouldn't be getting hit by it. They just basically lose the situation either way if they like counter it or block it, because then they get a defense debuff, and then Sceptile's out of the way too, because he teleports, by the way. He just teleports above them and swings away, and during this animation, he could do his other hang, he could do... not that. He could do... not that. He could do Leaf Seeds. He could just mix up his movement a lot. Obviously, he could do his other aerial moves too. He could even do something like this. Fake a JX, and then he could cancel his JX into hang. There's just lots of ways to mix it up. And also, if you do something like this, that can prevent people who are trying to jump back. So like some characters, how they want to deal with counterattack is they would do something like this and then jump back or something and hit Sceptile in the air. Depending on the character, they could still succeed in it, but they also risk falling into the poison cloud. That will give them a defense debuff and knock them down because it sends them straight up if they're in the air and then knocked down. So Sceptile will still have advantage. Or this can happen. That. I do JY and hit them out of the air before they can do something. So that's just really, really stupid. It's obviously, as you could probably tell, he's also invulnerable during this. It's just a very safe move to use in general once you do something like very committable. So you do something that's kind of unsafe, like, I don't know, 2Y or whatever, even though 2Y is kind of stupid on block. But like, you do that, and then you're like, hi, now I just did this, and now you're still in disadvantage. I don't know why that happened. Either way, Sceptile's got very two stupid CAs. One for more ground-based movement that can lead to full combos, and this one leads into air movement, and he can get away from the situation right then. It also allows for cross-ups, and I forgot to mention it, but on hit, it leads to a full combo too. With the defense down. It does scale quite a bit though, so it's like, at least it's nice there, but just check this out. Then you do this, and wow, they have a defense down, and they still took like 189 damage, which is not bad. But you can also do this. And that is 0 phase shift points, and you get a reset on them. So you can steal meter from it. It's only 80 damage, but you get the defense down, and then you can do your advantage. And then you start doing massive damage like that. It's basically like it's one mini combo that has 0 phase shift points to it, and then you still get the opportunity to maintain your advantage and do a full combo like that, and that'll do massive amounts of damage because of that defense debuff. Like, it's really silly, and it's super, super, super safe, especially in Field Phase 2, where you could just do it against projectiles, and then just like hang away, set up your traps, even be in the poison cloud a bit if you want to do JY. It's really, really, really good. Next character I want to talk about is actually Libre, because I mentioned this also in the previous video. Libre's kind of dumb with its CA. Libre CA, I'm pretty sure it hits from this distance. Okay, I lied. Okay, it hits from like this distance. Like, it's still, like, that's longer than Sceptile's, and I already mentioned that Sceptile's hitting that far is pretty absurd for what it is. And I actually don't know the combo routes, but you get a full combo off this even when it's not like fully charged, which is something Sceptile doesn't have. Like his resets, obviously, which is already pretty stupid. But the fact that you get a full combo from something very low committable like this, it's very quick, goes pretty far. I mentioned it like for Sceptile, but you could just use this in neutral as like a normal button, like one of your normals. It also goes pretty far compared to other her normals too. I mean, fully charged, it does massive amounts of damage. Like that does 100. It just does that much already. That'll do how much with a speed debuff too? Like against the corner, you do that much damage. 195 with a debuff 2 from Libre with Electro Web. Already, I feel like a speed debuff is probably better than a defense down. Just like depending on the character, probably. Like if you're already slow, it's just like who cares? Unless you're fighting someone like Shadow Mewtwo, in which case you can't really get in. But basically, what I'm saying is Libre kind of wants to get in your face anyway. So speed debuff isn't the worst, I guess, but it's really annoying if you're already a quick character who wants to rush you down. Because Libre can also play very annoying and just like wall you out like that. I went on a little tangent there, but that's just because she could be in that situation just from hitting her CA in neutral. And I was fully charged in the corner. She could just do that off of regular charge too. Like I said, you can combo off of it. It's very, 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 very low risk, high reward, similar to Sceptile's. It also just has a lot of armor to it, and similar to Sceptile, she could also just do something like this, which is really good. And because it goes further too, whenever she does want to release it, even if someone's like hitting her from like far away, she can still punish them. Like if Lucario was just doing like 2Ys and he timed it wrong, he's still gonna get hit. Like look at this. Like if you even whiff it from that far, Lucario's 2Y already goes pretty far. It's so stupid. It just goes like, you get so much off of it. You have a lot of armor to it. You get a lot. I think you get more damage than Sceptile CA, which is something. At least against the wall. I'm not too sure about mid screen. But yeah, most of the time you end in a Electro Web, so that means you just do a lot of damage to them while also still giving them a debuff. Similar to Sceptile's, except this one's a finisher, and I feel like it's probably more consistent because Sceptile's has some character specific stuff to this. I'm not sure about Libre's, but it seems like it's the same basic combo every time Libre does it. And I think she's even slightly faster when backdashing too with it, so it's a lot, even when it's backdashing forward, it's a little more safer than Sceptile's. I don't think there's really too much to talk about. Sometimes it can hit funky in the air too if you're trying to land, and at least for Libre, if you get an air hit, it doesn't actually lead to a full combo. Like, let me see this real quick. Like, it just knocks them down. Actually, no, it air techs them, which is actually arguably better than a full knockdown, because then you just... Okay. Actually, never mind. That's kind of stupid. Actually, it might not put them in a way for an air tech. That might not be that bad. Kind of. You have to dash up twice, and that's when you're both kind of even, I think. Yeah, I guess it's not too bad then, in comparison to like Sceptiles, because Sceptiles gets a full combo off of it, so it's still less. But an air tech is usually better than not full knockdowns. Libre has 2 other counterattacks, but they're not really as dumb as like her CA. I guess, nah, Wild Charge is fine too. Spark is kind of dumb if you want to like anti-air her and she does stuff, but like that's pretty much it. It's mostly this counterattack, and like having these 2 other counterattacks kind of just like helps her be in a very defensive position. I mean, this is like these 2 are punishable, so it's like fine, whatever. But this is safe. This is plus. I don't know how. I think it's +8. I know Sceptiles is like +4. This might be +8. And when you have an anti-air like this too, it just helps you maintain your advantage a lot more. Because like if you're how did that whiff actually? What? Anyway, well, bad example, but yeah, if you want to anti-air them, then you get a full combo like this anyway. So it's just like it's really, really bad. And they can also just reset you too with Electro Web. And now you have to deal with that. And now you have to guess with this. I also forgot to mention it, but for a lot of these counterattacks that are super quick, you can bait the opponent into blocking it, and then you just grab them like that instantly. You cannot react to these situations. It's a save for Sceptile, it's a save for Libre, and it's a save for a few others too. And then lastly, Field Phase is like, it goes pretty far in Field Phase, so it's just like, oh, I won the phase. From that far away, from blocking up a projectile. And then you're Libre, so you have a very low meter, so you get your meter pretty quickly. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention it. You could keep spamming these, and then you could just keep getting more and more synergy, because you gain synergy every time you guard an attack. So even if you're not hitting them, and they block it, you're getting some synergy, and you're going to be plus on their block. So it's just like, whatever. Whatever. Alright, the next character I wanted to talk about is Darkrai. Darkrai is kind of weird. Alright, for Darkrai, it's not so much his regular CA. This one actually kind of sucks. I think you can even anti-air it. He's not in the air, but you can anti-air it. But it's mostly this one, Nasty Plot. Nasty Plot is really, 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 really nasty, as I plot forward. I don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, this move is really, really good in Field Phase alone, and then in Duel Phase, it gets even dumber. You see, in Field Phase, counters are pretty good because you can just go through projectiles and fight back. And usually, characters wanted to do that to get in. Darkrai's is different. Darkrai's is way different, in fact. Because for Darkrai, he can use Nasty Plot to counter and stay away from the opponent and just continue his zoning. Because here's what his counter does. He does this, the Nasty Plot explosion happens, and then he goes away. You would think that during this teleport away, he's vulnerable. No, he's not. He is totally fine. He can do this and then block in time for anything. And even then, even if it wasn't like that, the explosion is going to block other projectiles either way, so you have to have a long-range move. And for reference, this is how big it normally looks. It doesn't look that big, right? It's just a tiny little, well, not tiny, but a decently sized bubble. Actually, no, it hits kind of outside of it too. It's pretty decently big, and if you're moving around in a real match, it's pretty likely you're going to get tapped by it at certain points, especially if you keep spamming it over and over again. Basically, when that happens, he can get a full combo. Usually for Darkrai, you want to end it in something like this, both in Field Phase and in Duel Phase. Like, it's a very good way of just guaranteeing you're going to get into it. You do decent damage too, like that's 108 in Field Phase alone off of like a regular crit. Like, it's pretty dumb like that. And speaking of Bad Dreams Rising, as we're in here, normally this move isn't frame 1. In Bad Dreams Rising, it's frame 1. Which means zoning is not an issue, just like in Field Phase. I mean, it already wasn't an issue if you had good, decent reactions, but like, if you're, just in case, and also that means you can also use it on Wake Up too. Like, if you're knocked down, then you're really stupid. It doesn't help that in Bad Dreams Rising, he just has invincibility on some of his dashes too for a bit, so then you could just do a dash, and then, blah. Sure, I think there's some opening for it, but it's like, it's still very, very, very dumb, very weird, and also I forgot to mention it, but if you hold the button, you could just leave it there. And those clones, if you use Nasty Plot again, it activates the clones. So you can have multiple... Oh, here, wait. Actually, wait. Let me show you this. Let me show you this. So you must be thinking, oh, it's just one. That's kind of like a weird, funky hitbox. It can't be that bad, right? Okay, what if I told you that he could just put down clones like this, and then... And now you were literally covering half the screen. Actually, no, you're covering the full screen. Have fun! Have fun! It's part of the counter, so that's why it's really stupid, especially if you set these up in Bad Dreams Rising, because then you control the entire screen and you could just start launching projectiles at them. I forgot those actually get launched too. If those didn't get launched with Dark Pulse, that would be so busted, because then you just spam that. Oh my goodness, that would have been so busted. Thank God they did that. I mean, it shoots more projectiles, and that's good in Field Phase, but like in Duel Phase, that'd been pretty bad. Like, fire. They kind of just like made his CA purposely bad because they realized, oh, this move is kind of dumb, which fair enough, I guess, but I feel like the main issue is obviously the weird hurtbox and the fact that he could do multiple at once. Like, if it was like what it looked like if it looked like this explosion, fine, fair enough. If you could do 2 down, you could probably find points where you could stand in between them. But for this case, I feel like very easily not gonna, like, he's clearly not gonna get hit there, like you would think. But then he just gets hit in between them. It's really, really good for holding down space and making sure your opponent can't do anything. Like, because if you see them jump, like you're shooting like other stuff, like you do this move and you're like doing that, and you see them jump, we're like, oh, okay, let me just nasty claw, and then they just get knocked down. Because in the air, also, I forgot to mention, in the air they even get like put into that like fall where they're just like stunned for a sec. Because guess what, when you are up in the air, it doesn't matter, Darkrai says you're down here now, and then you can just do this, and then you get your nightmare. And then, oh look, now I have my nightmare. Now I can't wait to do more clones. And this time it's frame 1 invincibility. Hurrah, what a great idea. It also doesn't help that when it's like this and you want to like go into your command grab that steals a bunch of synergy, health, and other stuff that does a lot of damage too and resets the field phase far away, and then you can just start setting up more clones and then doing other stuff and like blah blah blah. I got explosions now. It's mostly an issue in field phase and Bad Dreams Rising Duel Phase. In Duel Phase, it's still really good, but he can abuse it heavily in those 2 other circumstances, which is only like 2/3 of what he wants anyway. He wants to be in Field Phase and he wants to be in Bad Dreams Rising. He doesn't want to be in this at all. So it's like, this is still a good option in a situation where he doesn't want to be in. So that just makes it really, really dumb. Alright, next up we have everyone's least favorite Gremlin Weavile. And Weavile's is really dumb, similar to Sceptile's Detect in a way, but it's also very obviously different. Alright, just real quick, because it also kind of just adds to the conundrum that is Weavile's mix-ups, is that this is unreactable too. We're not talking about this CA, but I just want to mention that real quick. Basically, the counterattack we're talking about is Taunt, another frame 1 invulnerable move. Now, what makes this one really stupid? Okay, while he can't activate the follow-up like Sceptile can, even if the opponent doesn't hit him, what happens when the opponent hits him is really, really stupid. So basically, if you hit Weavile while he's using Taunt, well, you go into this little stance, right? And, okay, first off, that kind of lasted a long time. I forgot it lasts like that. Like, look at this. Woo! Wait, let me see if I can do it really funky, like... Why does it last that long? What? There's no reason it should be lasting that long. That's longer than, like, most other, like, CAs. Like, fully sure, I'm probably not, but, like, it lasts super long for, like, a command counter. I guess that means, like, if you see it coming, you can punish it quickly, but it also just means, like, oh, if you think you're gonna be able to punish it with, like, a physical attack, and then you just accidentally hit very little too soon, then you get punished for it. Basically, sorry, what makes this move so good, though? Okay, what makes this move super, super annoying, besides the fact that it's frame 1 and lasts, like, 5 years for some reason? Well, the fact is, it applies a debuff onto the opponent. It's not as good as a debuff as Sceptile's, but it's made up for that if the opponent hits you, they always get it. They don't have to hit you. So that's very annoying. As you see right there, too, it also drains synergy, which is very, very, very annoying. And you can also just do knockoff right after, even without the crit, and then you can drain even more synergy. Like, I hit him with 2 taunts and 1 knockoff. That's like a fourth of his synergy already gone, which is really annoying considering Weavile has a very quick synergy, the fastest in the game at 100cc, and Lucario, for reference, is at 150. So if you just get one of those off, or a few of them off, then Lucario has to struggle to get his meter in order to fight against Weavile's burst. And Weavile's burst is pretty decent at keeping the opponent in the corner, just because he has a lot of his pressure is kind of fake a bit, but he has a burst attack that can anti-air the opponent, so if they react to you jumping, then you just be like, anti-air. And that, I think that burst attack is even like I-11, so it's like the fastest burst attack in the game. Now, as I mentioned, it's not a defense debuff. What it applies is a synergy down debuff, which is basically a defense debuff and also an attack down debuff, but only when they're in burst mode. So it's very situationally useful. If you're in a burst versus burst situation, you could probably do it and the opponent just suddenly becomes weaker. But what makes this move also incredibly dumb is that usually you'd be like, oh, okay, you do the follow. Okay, so Sceptile's, he disappears for a sec, but it makes sense. He disappears. So like, oh, you could be like, oh, okay, it makes sense that he's invulnerable for a sec, and then he's vulnerable and I can try to counterattack him, even if he does have a lot of great air options to avoid said counterattacks. Counterattacks as in trying to hit the opponent back, not the actual, like, blue armor stuff. But basically, for Weavile, you would think, oh, when he's just standing here like this, you could do that, right? Okay, what if I told you that after this, we're just gonna do that as the example, okay? We're just gonna do that as the example. He's invulnerable as he's just standing there. He's literally just standing there, menacingly, waiting for you to mess up. And he can also hold it, wait for you to mess up again, trying to attack him out of it, and then punish you. It's, for some reason, him just standing there has more iframes than Sceptile disappearing into thin air. Somehow. So, that's a fun time when you try to beat him out. And you know what's even more stupid? Let's see this. One sec. Just one sec. Just imagine this. Alright, so you're just like, okay, I'll just wait him out and just punish it. One, I don't even think that's punishable on block. I think it's actually plus, which is funny. You could jump over it, but it's just like, and he's going forward. If you want to jump backwards, it's kind of risky because you could get hit by the tail end of it. Or if you go forward, you're not going to be able to punish him in time. You probably want to, like, ideally, like, if he's going to go for the lunging part, jump in place if you're at a certain distance, so you cross him up slightly and then hit him from behind. Problem is, though, it's not very committable, because if you do something like, if you do this, you can hold R, and then you go right into your block. And similarly to Darkrai, he cannot be punished during this and can just block the opponent right away. Like, okay, yeah, sure, thank you. Your freaking long bone means absolutely nothing when I'm literally just taunting you, and it literally means absolutely nothing. Like, are you kidding me? And this just brings a lot of other mix-ups, too, on the table. Like, you could do something like, and then grab them. Like, really? Like, you could probably also just hit them, like, before they do it. Okay, never mind. You probably couldn't do it there. But for other characters, like, hit them in between, like, certain combos that they're trying to do that they're just, like, matching for, because they expect you to, like, I don't know, get hit. And a lot of people, like, get hit by this move unexpectedly because they don't realize, oh, it has a million invincibility frames. Luckily he does not have this thing in field phase. But yeah, he gains invincibility the entire time, which is the main thing about this move that's really stupid. That's the literally main thing, because it's similar to a situation with Darkrai where you could just easily spam it against projectiles over and over again. You can just keep doing this over and over again. And it's just like, you apply that debuff even more. So like, if it's against like a zoner like Gardevoir, who's in burst mode, guess what? Now they have a defense debuff for like 5 years. So Weavile can just go rush in and deal lots of damage in that way. The iframes alone makes it really stupid, and the fact that he can just block right after it, and then everything else is just the cherry on top. The synergy down, the movement obviously too is really good. I think he's plus a block. Let me see. Wait, was that plus 12? Was that plus 12? Oh my goodness gracious! I was understating this move, if anything. I was like, oh, it's probably like plus 8. No, it's only plus 12. No big deal. That was a true block string, I'm pretty sure. Oh my goodness gracious, with gravy on top. What the fuck? Anyway, now for the moment you've all been waiting for. You've probably been waiting for this counterattack to be mentioned here, but we were waiting until the end because it's probably the stupidest one here. Here is Scizor's. Do you know how dumb this counterattack is? Do you know how truly it's dumb? Well, let's see. The other counterattacks, they do have some stuff above Scizor's. What makes Scizor's any different from all of theirs in such a worse way? Well, let me ask this. Can you react to this? Can you? To this 120 base grab? And if you got crit, 144? Can you do that? Please explain to me. I can react to I-11s. Okay, baby, let's see if you can react to this. So yeah, that's the first part of this. The second part is, look at how big his dick is. I'm sorry to be vulgar, but look at it. Look at it. It's majestic, but also stupid. He can just do this too, so it's just like, oh my goodness. Like his CADC, like he has to use something called a Kara cancel in order to do his CAs as like quick as Sceptile's. But it's super easy to do because basically what a Kara is, you cancel one move into the other kinda at the very first frames. Because so for example, he can go into hover dash off this, which is already a pretty good move because he can do this as a starter, which does a lot of damage by itself. Same with this one. This is the one I want to talk about though. He's canceling that. You basically press the X button first because that is that move. And then you press the A button for the counterattack input. I can't do it as good as like other top Scizor players. implying I am a top Scizor player. But anyway, basically, this is his normal one. And then this is like the one with the car cancel. Kind of like that. Like you could, it's a very obvious difference in speed for it. And also, I forgot to mention, he can move during this. He can just move during it, so he can go forward. It technically gives it more range and maneuverability. In Field Phase, it's also really dumb because you have like you can just go freaking in a circle like this. And in Field Phase, it's hard to like there aren't lows in like Field Phase, at least not many. But for the most part, you're just dealing with a high that can hit you in the air very easily. That has that much range, and it is a 90 damage. Yeah, and then you can go into a full combo like that, and that's already doing like 158. Now, a lot of Scizor players, they actually won't go for this. You know why? Because they basically parry you with this move, and then do this and do 1,000,000 damage to you. I don't know like the full combo off of it, but basically you do something like. And that is 243 damage. That's not even counting the fact that he's probably gonna have a sword most of the time. Which also gets CA frames, but that's not the point. Basically, yeah, he's gonna do 1,000,000 damage to you just from getting one mistake. And here that was on a crit too, but a lot of the time it's just gonna be that like near that amount of damage even without the crit, and that's what makes it really, really dumb. Even if you do a ton of moves back to back to back to try to beat out his CADC, it's a less of a window than Sceptile's, and you guys already saw how Sceptile's like leaves very little room for like actually punishing him during the dash, the forward dash at least. I think his CADC backwards isn't that you can't really do anything with it, at the very least. But like a lot of time he could just move backward during the CA and then move forward again. Like he could just do this, like that, over and over again. And because of how fast it is, the likelihood that you're gonna beat it out is very, 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 very small unless you have unless they mistime it. They have to be at fault for doing it, and like that's not gonna happen often in top level play. In Field Phase, I mentioned it's very annoying to deal with like that, because especially in this phase, if you want to shoot a projectile against him, he'll just do this and then just homing attack you as a punish, or like other moves. Like this may all sound like, in comparison to the other moves which had like fancier effects like debuffs or like invincibility frames, this is basically the invincibility frame unless you're unless you have a piercing move, basically, because like a lot of situations you're gonna be able to just do this free without issue. Like even a lot of like Oki setups that the opponent would want to use against the opponents to like even beat out like most counterattacks. Scizor's counterattack would beat it out just because it could do this real quick before it can use the next move, so they could just keep doing it over and over and over again. Like I guess this is a good example. The card is a really good example for a really good Oki setup that people would want to use to try to beat out counterattacks, because this is a really good tool, because if you see them counterattack, then you do E-speed. Thing is though, you could do something like this. Yeah, that's fun. That was a bit tough to do, admittedly, because his E-speed is I-11, but the fact that it's even possible is incredibly insane. Like, wow. And obviously it depends on the timing of it. Like, if I do it probably here, it's probably gonna be harder to do than normal, but like, still, the fact that it's just like, you see how tight that window is for him. That was an I-11 right after that move, and it's already like really, really doing so many multi-hits that you have to be aware of. It's really just good. Like, it's just absurd, honestly, how this like was even like considered okay to be in the game. And obviously he goes into his hover dash, so that's movement. He can just skate around, which you can go back and forward, like to bait the opponent out, and then just be like, hi, I now decide to counterattack you. It only goes that far on uncharged, but like you have no reason to not try to charge it, unless you do want to get like this for some reason. Which doesn't even like, does that even combo? Doesn't even combo, so like there's like little reason. And like I mentioned it before, it's a high, so you'd be like, oh, I could just duck under it. Well, if you're like ducking under it and you try to attack his CA and you hit his counterattack, especially if he does something like that, you're eating this. So, you know, that's also not a fun thing to do. What more can I talk about this move for? It's funnily enough, it's kind of one of the more simple ones in this list, but it's just so stupid with how it is simple, because it's just a million counter frames, and you basically have to guess in neutral when he's not going to be using it and using something else. Thing is, though, he's going to be wanting using it a lot, though, and that's what makes it really stupid. He's just going to be using this one move a lot of the time, because for other characters, they have dumb stuff. Like, Okay, for example, Nasty Plot and Taunt. A lot of the time you'd be like, okay, I want to use them in situations where I'm fighting against a lot of projectiles. Which, okay, fair enough. In that one situation, they're really good. And obviously they're good out of that situation, but they're not like entirely foolproof in those situations. Taunt is frame 1. You still have to be aware because if you do whiff it, the opponent thinks it's coming, then they can punish you with something big. For this one, you just be like, oh, I see they didn't do anything. I'm just gonna backdash away and then see it again. Like, I feel like I'm going in like hoops talking about this move, but it's just like that. My goodness. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention one of the big things about this move. I'm pretty sure it can combo into stuff like, because he has this command grab called Bug Bite. Yeah, it does work. Which basically steals buffs, so if you buffed yourself, have fun, those are scissors now. And they reset the timer too, so he just gets a longer time. And he gains synergy, he doesn't steal synergy at least, and then steals HP too. All around, probably the most broken counterattack in the game. In my opinion, at least. For the most part, most people seem to agree that this is like one of the more toxic counterattacks in the game. I mean, every one of these are toxic in some way, but this is just like, why? But yeah, basically, if you want to see me talk about more Pokken stuff, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to see me hate Scizor more, you can check out a lot of my sets against tech. But yeah, I appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it's not too long. I'm recording this in like 51 minutes, but that's probably gonna get cut down a lot because I talk in circles a lot because I'm dumb. But yeah, have a great day, guys. See you next time.